The disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 remains, to this day, one of the greatest enigmas in modern aviation, a mystery that defies rational explanation and continues to intrigue investigators, experts, and the public alike. On the night of March 8, 2014, the Boeing 777-200ER took off from Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Malaysia at 12:41 a.m., bound for Beijing, China. On board were 227 passengers of various nationalities and 12 crew members, a total of 239 people, each with their own story, dreams, and life journey. The flight began in an apparently normal manner, with a smooth takeoff, standard communication with air traffic control, and routine procedures carried out by the crew. In the first few minutes, everything seemed perfectly ordinary, just like any other international flight. However, something unexpected would soon occur, something that would turn this journey into one of the greatest mysteries in contemporary aviation. Just over an hour after takeoff, Flight MH370 vanished from civilian radar, causing immediate concern among air traffic controllers and aviation authorities. The sudden and inexplicable disappearance raised a series of questions. How could a modern aircraft equipped with advanced tracking and communication technology simply disappear? What was the fate of everyone on board? The answers were far from clear, and the first hours after contact was lost were marked by confusion, fear, and speculation. Initially, it was believed that the aircraft might have suffered some kind of mechanical failure or unexpected accident. But the absence of visible debris and the lack of emergency signals cast doubt on that theory. Investigators began analyzing every possible explanation, from technical malfunction and human error to external interference or even deliberate action by someone on board. One of the first key discoveries was that the aircraft's transponder, the device that transmits its exact position to radar systems, had been deliberately switched off. This indicated that the disappearance was not entirely accidental, raising suspicions of human involvement, possibly by a crew member or someone else. Military radar data suggested that the plane had changed course after disappearing from civilian radar, heading toward the Indian Ocean, a region far from any standard commercial flight path. This made MH370's trajectory even more mysterious, as it deviated from its original route with no plausible explanation. The initial investigations focused on analyzing the backgrounds of the pilots, crew, and passengers, searching for signs of suspicious behavior, threats, psychological issues, or any hint of conspiracy. Although some details about the pilots' and crew's personal histories emerged, no solid evidence pointed to any clear malicious intent. Meanwhile, satellite experts analyzed communication signals exchanged between MH370 and the Inmarsat satellite network. These data allowed investigators to trace an approximate route for the aircraft, known as the Southern Corridor, suggesting that the plane had flown south toward the remote and vast Indian Ocean, far from any inhabited land. The search for the aircraft became the largest rescue and investigation operation in aviation history, involving dozens of countries, ships, planes. Over the years, some debris from MH370 began to wash ashore on islands and coastlines of the Indian Ocean, including parts of wings, flaps, cabin panels, and other fragments, confirming that the aircraft had indeed crashed into the sea. Each new fragment reignited the debate about the causes of the disappearance and provided important clues, though still insufficient to fully reconstruct the flight's final moments. Theories about what might have happened vary widely. One early hypothesis suggested a catastrophic mechanical failure, such as a fire on board, or loss of control due to technical problems. However, experts pointed out that the Boeing 777-200ER was considered one of the most reliable aircraft in the world, with a solid maintenance record and redundant safety systems, making that explanation unlikely without further evidence. Another theory proposed that deliberate action by someone on board could have been involved. This included everything from hijacking to deliberate acts of sabotage. The analysis of cockpit data communications with air traffic controllers and the personal records of the pilots and crew was thoroughly investigated, but no clear evidence pointed to criminal or suicidal intent. Although suspicions regarding the captain and co-pilot were discussed in the media and in preliminary reports, At the same time, more extreme theories began to emerge, including interference by external forces, secret military events, unknown technology, or even inexplicable phenomena. Documentaries and journalists explored every line of investigation, expanding the debate and keeping the case alive in the collective memory. With each new satellite analysis, the aircraft's trajectory appeared even more mysterious. The data suggested that MH370 made a series of route changes and maneuvers that could not be easily explained by technical failure. This led experts to consider the possibility of deliberate action, although they were never able to definitively determine who was responsible or why. The official search extended over years, covering thousands of square kilometers of ocean. Australia led much of the operation in the so-called Southern Corridor, using advanced sonar technology and satellite image analysis to try to locate wreckage that might provide answers. Despite all the technology available, the search was hindered by the immense size of the Indian Ocean, strong currents, and extreme depths in several regions. Small fragments found on African and island coastlines provided some answers, but also raised new questions about the exact point of impact and the sequence of events that led to the plane's crash. The families of the victims, meanwhile, faced deep suffering and constant uncertainty. Many never received complete information about the fate of their loved ones, living with pain and mystery. Psychological support and assistance groups were created, but the lack of definitive answers generated frustration and anger in many cases. In response to the disappearance, the aviation industry began to adopt stricter measures for tracking, monitoring, and communication. New technologies were implemented to ensure that aircraft in flight can be located in real time, even in remote regions, and to prevent similar disappearances in the future. Despite these advances, Flight MH370 continues to be remembered as a warning about human vulnerability and the complexity of operating aircraft in a highly technological, yet still unpredictable world. Each fragment recovered, each satellite analysis, and each new theory adds to the sense of mystery, keeping the case alive both in official investigations and in popular imagination. Over the years, documentaries, books, podcasts, and reports have continued to explore every detail of the disappearance, from takeoff to the last satellite communication, revisiting old hypotheses and presenting new interpretations. Flight MH370 has thus become a symbol of the unknown, reminding us that even with all our technology, planning, and control, chance and mystery can still prevail. Researchers and experts continue to analyze records, maintenance data, flight histories, weather patterns, and ocean currents in an effort to accurately reconstruct the aircraft's trajectory. Each new discovery, though partial, contributes to the ongoing attempt to understand what really happened on that fateful night in March 2014. Conspiracy theories continue to surface, suggesting everything from secret hijackings to cover-ups by international organizations, but none have been proven conclusively. The complexity of the case lies in the lack of complete information and the scattering of debris, which makes reconstructing the accident nearly impossible without significant new evidence. The disappearance of MH370 also sparked broader reflections on aviation safety, global communication, and humanity's ability to cope with the unknown. It represents the intersection between advanced technology and human limitations, showing that we cannot always predict or control the events that occur in the vast skies and oceans of our planet. The mystery of MH370 continues to be the subject of study, debate, and fascination around the world. Aviation experts, engineers, investigators, and enthusiasts continue to explore every detail, trying to find answers to the questions that remain unresolved. How did the plane disappear without leaving immediate traces? Who, if anyone, played a deliberate role in the deviation from its route? And finally, where exactly did it crash? To this day, MH370 is remembered as an enigma that defies definitive explanations, keeping alive the questions of safety, responsibility, technology, and fate. Each attempt at resolution generates new discussions, and every fragment found adds layers of complexity to the investigation. For the victims' families, the search for truth remains a priority, as it does for the experts who seek to prevent future disappearances. The case also led to significant changes in how aircraft are tracked in real time. in communication between airplanes and control centers, and in international cooperation during search and investigation operations. Despite all efforts, Flight MH370 remains shrouded in mystery, and the story remains open, fascinating the world and reminding everyone of human fragility in the face of the unknown. Each analysis, each theory, and each partial discovery adds to the case's complexity, keeping alive the debate about what really happened that night and underscoring the importance of vigilance, technology, and rigorous investigation. The disappearance of Flight MH370 thus remains one of the greatest mysteries in modern aviation, a case that defies explanation, awakens global curiosity, and preserves the memory of the victims and their stories. While the search for truth continues amid the vastness of the Indian Ocean and the limits of human understanding,